The sound of distant thunder rumbled across the horizon as Maya sat on the balcony of her high-rise apartment, a glass of wine in her hand. The city skyline stretched out beneath her, bathed in the soft hues of twilight. It was peaceful, calm, and everything she'd once dreamed of. But this moment of serenity, this life she now held so effortlessly, had not come without a storm of its own. Maya wasn't supposed to be here. At least, that's what the world had told her over and over again. Growing up in a small, run-down neighborhood on the outskirts of town, nothing in Maya's life had come easy. Her mother had died when she was 8, a victim of an undiagnosed illness that had crept through her body until it took everything from her. Maya remembered the hospital bills piling up, remembered the arguments between her father and the doctors, and the inevitable day her father just stopped trying to fight. The life drained out of him too, but he stayed, physically at least. Emotionally, Maya lost both of them that year. Her father started drinking, at first to numb the pain. Eventually, it became his full-time job. The house decayed around them, the roof leaked, the walls stained with watermarks and cigarette burns. But it wasn't just the house that fell apart. It was her safety net, her childhood, her belief in herself. At 13, Maya had already learned that the world didn't care about her problems, and neither did most people. The neighborhood kids mocked her hand-me-down clothes, and the teachers, though sympathetic, had written her off as just another kid who wouldn't make it. For a while, she almost believed them. But there was something in Maya, a fire that refused to die, even when she wanted it to. She couldn't shake the feeling that life had to be more than survival. Somewhere in the chaos, between the slammed doors, broken bottles and silent dinners, Maya decided she would not be like her father. She would fight for something better, even if she had to crawl through hell to get it. She threw herself into her schoolwork, finding refuge in books and math problems that made sense in a world that didn't. The library became her sanctuary. While others hung out at malls or parties, Maya spent hours hunched over textbooks, dreaming of the day she would leave her old life behind. She had nothing, no money, no connections, no fallback plan. But she had her mind, and she would sharpen it like a sword. Her first major battle came during her senior year of high school. Her father had disappeared for weeks. No calls, no notes, just an empty chair at the kitchen table. She was working part-time at a diner, barely scraping together enough for groceries while trying to ace her final exams. Exhaustion gnawed at her bones, but she refused to let go. She had applied to every scholarship she could find, desperate for a way out. The dream school was Columbia University. In her heart, she knew she could make it there, if only someone gave her a chance. The rejection letters came first. One after another, they filled the mailbox like silent bullets to her hope. The pain of seeing her dreams crumble almost broke her. One night, after a particularly hard shift at the diner, Maya found herself standing on a bridge, staring down into the black water below. The world felt so heavy on her shoulders, and the temptation to let it all go was deafening. But she didn't jump. Something inside her, that same fire, flickered back to life. Not today, she thought. Not like this. A month later, a single envelope arrived from Columbia. Her hands shook as she opened it. She had been accepted on a full scholarship. The girl from the broken home, the one everyone had written off, was going to New York City. The next 4 years were brutal. While other students came from money, privilege and stability, Maya was clawing her way through. She worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs to cover living expenses, often staying up until dawn to finish assignments. She lived in the cheapest apartment she could find, a closet-sized room with no heating, but it didn't matter. She had made it. Every struggle was worth it. Every night spent studying instead of sleeping was one step closer to her dream. But life didn't stop testing her. During her junior year, her father resurfaced. He had been living on the streets, lost in his addiction, and he was sick, very sick. Maya was torn. She had finally built something for herself, carved out a piece of the world that was hers, and now the man who had abandoned her needed her. For weeks, she agonized over what to do. The resentment she felt toward him was heavy, but so was the love she couldn't shake. In the end, she took him in, using her savings to get him into a rehab program. It cost her nearly everything, and for a while, she was sure it would break her. But even as the weight of responsibility pressed down on her, Maya refused to let it suffocate her. She had come too far to stop now. Graduation day arrived, and Maya stood in her cap and gown, tears filling her eyes as she accepted her diploma. Her father, now sober, was there too, a frail shadow of the man she once knew, but proud. That moment, the culmination of every sleepless night, every doubt, every rejection, was the turning point. Maya wasn't just surviving anymore, she was winning. Now, years later, as she sat in her apartment, the wind from the open window brushing against her skin, Maya smiled. She had made it. She was a successful investment banker, managing million-dollar portfolios, and she loved her work. The city that had once seemed so out of reach was now her playground. The girl from the broken home who had faced a world of problems had built a life of her own design. The thunder rumbled again, and Maya took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the city beneath her. She wasn't just sitting where she wanted to be. She had climbed a mountain to get there.